Hi everybody, it's DRK here and you are watching a new Skyrim build. This time I'll show you the Princess of Sands. This build is inspired by Kaileena, the Empress of Time in Prince of Persia Warrior Within. So let's get started. Backstory. The Princess of Sands was born in a noble house of Tanith. When the city fell under the Aldmeri dominion, her family was killed by the Thalmor and her home burned to the ground. Having lost everything and determined to avenge the death of her family, she joined the resistance against the Dominion, and she learned to fight with two weapons at the same time, discovering a courage and a strength that she didn't think to have. Her struggle against the Dominion led her to Skyrim, where she heard that the woman who sold Tanith to the Thalmor was hiding there. Race, Standing Stone and Stats. The Princess of Sands is a Redguard. She possesses the power of the Atronach stone that gives her 50 points of extra magicka and 50% of spell absorption, but the magicka regeneration is reduced by 50%. The distribution of her stats is even, until she reaches 150 points of magicka. After that, the stats distribution becomes 50% between health and stamina. Perks. On the battlefield, the Princess of Sands wields two scimitars using few support spells. For this reason, it is very important to invest perks in one-handed, alteration and restoration in early game. Scimitars are the only source of damage, so in the one-hand skill tree you have to take all the perks of Armsman, then continue up to the central branch in order to unlock Savage Strike and Critical Charge, obtaining the ability to strike your foes with a devastating running power attack. Finally, unlock all the perks in the right branch up to Dual Savagery, increasing the damage and the speed of dual-wielding attacks. This build doesn't wear any kind of armor. For this reason, it is very important to unlock the Mage Armor perk as soon as possible in order to make the flesh spells like Oak and Ebony Flesh more effective. But remember, the effect of this perk works only if you are not wearing any armor. Other perks useful in the alteration skill tree are Stability to increase the duration of your alteration spells, and Atronach that gives 30% of spell absorption that combined with the Atronach stone reaches the 80% chance to absorb incoming enemy spells. The only restoration spell used by this build is Close Wounds, so you just need the Adept Restoration perk. The Regeneration and the Respite perks make Close Wounds even more effective, restoring also the stamina, which is essential for any dual-wielding build. Finally, there are some optional perks such as Recovery, to increase the magicka regeneration and avoid death, which allows once per day to restore 250 points of your health if it falls below 10%. This perk can be a lifesaver if the princess takes too much damage. Few destruction spells are used as well, so just unlock Destruction, Dual Casting and Adept Destruction. Since this build does not wear any type of armor, in order to make your equipment efficient and useful in combat, it is necessary to enchant your gear. In this skill tree, take all the enchanter perks and unlock all the central branch up to extra effect. Thanks to that, it will be possible to enchant items with two magical effects. Equipment. You can choose and enchant your gear as you wish, as long as you only wear clothes. I chose a red Redguard hood that you can find during the quest Gift of Kynareth, that you can start reading an Emperor's letter situated on a table in Castle Dower. You can get the boots and the tavern clothes, exploring Liar's Retreat located northeast of Karthwasten, near the Stormcloak camp of the Reach, or by killing Alba in Morthal during the quest, Laid to Rest. Finally, the jewels are a gold amulet and ring, while the weapons are a couple of ebony scimitars, that you can find on Solstheim during the quest, Ghosts of the Tribunal. Spells, Shouts and Powers. As I mentioned before, the Princess of Sands uses only few support spells. Ebony Flesh. This spell is the only protection of this build against physical damage and is dual casted before every battle. Dragonhide. This spell can be used as an alternative to Ebony Flesh, but it has a very short duration and consumes a lot of magicka. Personally, I prefer to use it only for one of the special moves that I will show you later in this video. Ash Shell. This spell traps the target inside an ash shell, making it unable to move, attack and even take damage. It can be used in several ways, both to isolate one or more enemies and to protect your follower. Whirlwind Cloak. This spell can make enemies that get too close to the princess set flying away, making any melee attack attempts useless. It is very useful against groups of enemies. Unbounded Flames. This spell can be obtained by exploring Hofsfall Cave. The Princess of Sands fights by wielding her scimitars, but she uses this spell for one of her special moves. Close Wounds. Healing spell that is able to restore even stamina during fights thanks to Respite perk. The shouts most used by the princess are Become Ethereal, to become momentarily invulnerable, allowing the princess to attack at the appropriate time and to run without consuming stamina. Cyclone and Unrelenting Force, to wipe out opponents and inflict massive damage on them. Depending on the situation, sometimes it is better to use Cyclone to deal a lot of damage to groups of enemies, while other times is the only thing you need to save your enemies. Finally, Slow Time, which will allow the Princess of Sands to attack enemies without them being able to react. This build uses various buffs such as Lover's Insight and Agent of Debella, that each increase the damage dealt to enemies of the opposite sex by 10%. In a world of men, this bonus comes in very handy for the princess. Seeker of Sorcery reduces the cost of all spells by 10% and makes spells more powerful. Thanks to this buff, combined with the armor set of Azadel, you will be able to enchant your gear in the best way possible. Talos Blessing will allow you to reduce the shout's cooldown by 20%. This, in my opinion, is the best blessing in the whole game, and it is useful for every build. Agent of Mara is another useful buff that increases magic resistance by 15%. Combined with the magic resistance perk of the Alteration School skill tree, brings the princess's magic resistance to 45%. Eternal Spirit. This particular buff, obtainable by meditating with Parthenax on the Words of Power, allows you to regenerate stamina 25% faster while using the Become Ethereal shout. This build consumes a lot of stamina, so it's important to have multiple ways to restore and increase your stamina bar. Finally, as a greater powers, the Princess of Sands uses Mora's Boon to quickly restore health, magicka and stamina during critical situations. Sunflare, which creates an explosion of fire similar to the Firestorm spell, damaging all enemies around. And the Secret of Arcana, which allows for 30 seconds to cast spells without magicka cost. Special moves. And now it's time for my favorite part of my builds, the special moves. So here are some combos that I like to use with this build. Sandstorm Armor. This combo is used by the Princess of Sands when she faces a group of enemies and consists of the dual-cast Ebony Flesh and Whirlwind Cloak in order to create protection against physical damage and at the same time prevent enemies from getting too close. To increase the effectiveness of Whirlwind Cloak, try to move as much as possible, avoiding staying in the same spot for too long. Quicksand Seal. The princess uses the Ash Shell spell to temporarily reduce the number of enemies on the battlefield. Then she devastates the remaining enemies with the scimitars in the Cyclone or the Slow Time shout. This combo can even be used to protect an ally. In fact, you can use your follower to lure many enemies to him, then use Ash Shell in order to protect your ally and wipe out all enemies with the Cyclone shout. Desert Breath. The Princess of Sands uses the Become Ethereal shout to become momentarily invulnerable and charges the enemy with a running attack, inflicting a lot of damage without consuming stamina. This combo can be used either at the beginning of a fight to quickly eliminate the strongest enemy, or to protect yourself waiting for the right moment to strike. Using this combo along with the Sandstorm Armor will allow you to always have total control over the battlefield. Rise of the Phoenix. This is the princess's ultimate move that can quickly take care of very strong enemies. It requires some preparation, so use it wisely. First of all, use the Secret of Arcana power to momentarily reduce the cost of your spells to 0. Then cast an improved version of Sandstorm Armor, dual casting Whirlwind Cloak and Dragonhide. Yes, you got it. Even if it is a spell that requires use of both hands can be dual casted. Then use the Slow Time shout and dual cast Unbounded Flames. This is a concentration spell, which means you can continue to use it without consuming magicka even after the effect of the Secret of Arcana has worn off. While using this combo, keep moving in order to spread the flames around your enemies. If they get too close, use Sunflare to inflict even more damage and Mora's Boon in case you need to heal yourself. And that's it. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, share it with your friends and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done it, in order to support my work. Thanks for watching and see you soon.